Hello all. Today we are going to learn how we can perform a create, update and delete operation in ASP.NET Core using AJAX. Okay. So this is the end application that we are going to build in. In this, what we are doing is we are performing a four operations using AJAX, that is read, basically get a student detail, that will be binded when we click on this button in this form. Okay, for the demo we are using a two information, basically two fields, name and the email for the student. So whenever we click on this button, so information will be binded on this form automatically. Okay, so this is done via the first AJAX call, that is a get call for any record. Okay, second, what we will do, we will perform a post call in which we are trying to save a student. Third is the put call, that is used for update a student, and last one is the delete call, that is used to delete any record in the database. So in this demo I'm not going to be use a database or any kind of backend. I will simply take a list and pass the data to it. Okay, so let's start our demo. So what firstly we have to open the Visual Studio. I am using 2022. Okay, so after that you have to be choose a template, type it ASP.NET Core web. We have to be choose it ASP.NET Core, and then look for the ASP.NET Core web app model view and controller option. Okay, so in this, why we are choosing this, because in this ASP.NET Core will provide us a sample controller that we just see in a minute. Let's give a suitable name to our application, AJAX CRUD app. Click on next. I am choosing the .NET 6 framework, that is the current working framework. You can uncheck this configure HTTP option, we don't need it right now. Click on create. So ASP.NET will create a sample app for us. If we simply expand the solution explorer, we will see they will create one controller for us, there is a model and there is a sample view for us. If we simply run the application, then you will see this kind of UI. Okay, so we have to be start from this and reach to this application. Okay, so let's close the browser. So the first thing that we need to do is, first we will create our model that we used in our application. Okay, so to save our time, I have that ready. We need one JSON response view model. We will use this for returning response to the end user. Okay, so in this class I have a two property with me. One is the response code, second is the response message. As you can see, response code is used basically to informing on the client side what will be the response code, whether it is a success or failure, whatever it is. Okay, so this is the one model that we use to return. Basically this model is used to get the response to our AJAX call, whether it is a read, update, delete or post. Okay, second model that we need in this demo is the student model. This we will use to read, create, again update a model. Basically if you are making some call, it means you are getting something from the server or posting something to the server. So for the demo purpose we will use a student model for getting, retrieving, posting, updating and deleting a data. Okay, so let's save it. Now we have our model ready. Then we have to be switch to the controller part. For the sample app, MVC provide us the three controllers: index, privacy, and the error. Okay, after the index we will create our methods to retrieve a call, to get a student detail, to post a student, update a student, and delete a student. Firstly, let's build a student list. Over here I'm creating a static list of students model that we named as students, and I am initializing it. Okay, and this student list again we reinitialized in the constructor. Then I am adding couple of records in it. For save our timing, let's copy the code from here. Okay, so in this what I did, I basically add 4 student in it. For in the student list, one is Ankush, Rohit, Sunny, and Amit. Okay, this list we will retrieve it on the client side. Okay, so let's, second thing is this list will be passed on the index view. So I am simply passing it. We will retrieve this list from the database and pass it to index view. Let's go to the index view. Right now we have a simple message, so we need to change the view to look like this, right? So save our time. I have a view ready with me. So let's copy the view. Don't worry about the code, you will get it on the Git. Link will be given in the video description at the bottom. Okay, so now what we have is, I have a title with me, then I have a form with me, then I have a table. Table is binding with the model, so from the controller we already pass a list, and over the view we have to tell the model like list is provided from the controller. So what we need is, we need a namespace from here. Then we telling our view it is a annual list, passing the namespace and the class name. Fine, that is it from the view part. So let's run the view now, see what we are getting on the view side. So see, now our view is ready, our list is binding. Now we are ready to perform our AJAX call one by one. Okay, so firstly we will perform the get call. So let's stop our solution. So save our timing, let's quickly write the server side method for the get call. Let's copy from the other part so that we can save our time. So I am using a Newtonsoft JSON. So simply click on it, getting installed it from the NuGet packages. Last option, install the Newtonsoft packages. So it will be installed at the background, and we will get the reference for it. For the same, at the top you will get the Newtonsoft JSON namespace will be added automatically. Okay, so in this what we have written is, we are expecting, this is a get call. Firstly design your method with the HTTP get attribute. Then we are expecting a ID for which we are trying to retrieve details of the student. Then we will iterate or find a student based upon the ID, and then we are checking if we are getting the result. Then we will building our response, that is the JSON SPU model. In this we are passing a response code. For the demo purpose I am using 0 as a success and 1 as a some kind of failure or content not found, whatever, you can use anything you want. Then I am binding my response code, and in the response message I am returning a serializing a student information in the JSON. Fine, straightforward. Okay, So now go to the view. Over there we need to be, what we need to do is when we click on it, we have to be firstly registered a click event of this get student button. Then we have to be make a AJAX call for it, so that information will be binded on this form automatically. Okay, so firstly define the click call of the get student button here. So if you see the sample template that ASP.NET provided us, they will told we, if we want to define any script apart from the JavaScript file or anything else on the view, current action view, then we will use this script section that we already defined on our master page, that is the underscore layout. So we define the script section like this. This is the basic of MVC. So I have defined this. Over there I have to be define a, first of all, the click method. So from the view, let's quickly copy the click method so that we can save our time. I have defined the document.ready first. Then we need to be define a click of get by ID method. So here is the name of the button, then the click event for the same. If I find this is the class because I am using a dot in front of it, and you will see where this class has mentioned, it is mentioned over the table anchor list where we have a get student button. Okay, so whenever this button will be clicked, what we will do, we will first try to retrieve the student ID from the data student attribute. Okay, so over there let's copy this. Okay, so let's try to understand what we have copied. So firstly, let me zoom it for you. So firstly I have defined a form data, that if I want to send any data in the AJAX form, I am using the form data collection variable. Then I have retrieved the student ID from the button attribute. I have the student ID, then I build my URL from which I have to be retrieve the data from the server. Okay, so basically I pass the method, action method, and then the controller, and at last a ID of the student for which I want to retrieve a data. Then syntax for the AJAX call. Finally the AJAX call time. This is the first call that we are going to make over here. So what are the options that AJAX provided us? A type. Basically type defines what is the nature of the call. Either it is a get, either it is a post, either it is a put or delete. Get is used for retrieving any data from the server. Post if you want to be post something to the server. Put basically used if you want to be update some kind of record, and delete, as its name specify, it will delete any record from the server. Okay, so second option is the URL that we build over here. Then content type, process data and cache, this will be the false by default. Then on the data we will pass the form data. For the get we don't need to be post anything, because basically get call means you are getting something, we are not posting anything. Okay, so if we want to post something, we will simply use the, you will simply pass single quote over here because we are not passing anything. Okay, so next is the success option and the error option. This means here we have to be pass a function, it is expecting a function over here, so that we can handle our success response. And on the error I am passing an error callback. In this, if you can, we have to be define this error function. Okay, in this what we will do, we will simply tell them if we met with any kind of exception, then how we can handle that. Okay, and one last thing, we are using Bootbox, a third-party library that will beautify our browser alerts. Okay, so I am using this for this. If you want to use this, simply go to your layout page, add the CDN for bootbox.js file before your render script section, and that's it. You are ready to use the bootbox alert thing. Okay, so now the last part in the success function, let's discuss this. For the in the success function, we are passing a function over. In the function we are getting the response back from the server. Okay, and here we are checking the response code whether it is a success or not. If you remember or recollect, we are passing 0 for the success and 1 for the any kind of failure. So checking for the 0 code, and then I am parsing my student data and binding it to my form. That's it, pretty simple code. Okay, let's, before we run, we have to be define this error callback function. So let's define that also. Here you go. Fine. So we have one click function, then we have error callback function. In this we are simply says we met with some kind of exception, something went wrong, please contact the admin. Okay, now we are ready to perform our first AJAX call, that is the get call. Let's add a debugger over here so that we can understand what we are going to send to the server, and add a debugger over here what we are getting back from the server, and finally on the get call. Let's run our application. Okay, so it will be loaded up. So I click on the second record. So firstly I met with the debugger that we have introduced on the click function. Over there we get the student ID 2, that is right from the data attribute, then our URL. Okay, and a call will be gone through first from the server side, and on the server side you will get the ID 2, that is correct. You find the data and you find it right, and we pass the response code 0 and the response data by serializing using the JSON convert, and here I am passing the response back to the client. So on, if we are getting the successful or we are not met with any kind of exception, then we will jump into our success function, because we introduced the debugger over there. You will see the response that we are getting from the server is response code 0 for success and the response message. So I am checking for the response code, deserializing my message, that is the student information. I bind it and I hit continue. You will see information will be binded on the respective form. Fine. So this is our get call, right? I hope this is clear to you. Now let's remove the debugger and move to our next method, that is post a data to the server. Okay, let's close this. So if we quickly watch our form, for posting our data, what we need is we are using a save button, save student button. Okay, on that we need to pass a email and a name in the form collection to the server. Okay, so firstly we have to be define our click function, similar that we define for the get student. Similar way we will define a click for a save button. So we quickly copy our click function. So let's try to understand what we have written over there. So I define the click for the VTN insert student button, define a form data, appending a form data parameters, name and the email that I want to post it to the server. Then I make a AJAX call. If you carefully look on the AJAX call type, now it is a post instead of get, because we want to post something, and this is our URL insert student that we are just going to be defining in the home controller, and rest of the parameter will be same. Instead we are defining the call function over here, we will simply pass the callback function. Callback function, similar way we define the error callback, we will define our success callback function. So let's quickly copy the success function definition also. So in the success function callback, what we are expecting a response back from the server, and we will check the code, and we will reset the form, and then we will read our response message. Why we need a reset the form? If we are inserting something and if we get a success callback, then a form with the two property name and the email will be automatically resetted it. So let's copy the reset definition too. So here is the reset function. In this we will empty our student ID, name and the email value. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so now we have our call ready. Now we have to be switched to the controller so that we can create our server side function. So let's copy the first. Yeah, here you go. So you will carefully first see the difference between the get and the next post call, the attribute. So whenever you want to be post something on the server, that it should be designed, method should be designed with the HTTP post attribute. Now we are collecting data from the post collection. So I am in ASP.NET Core, you will get it from the iForm collection variable, okay, as a function argument. Fine. Initially we are getting it from the URL, so we are simply passing the parameter. Or here I want to get it from the collection, so I am passing a form collection as a function argument. Okay, so in this what I am doing is I will create a student model object, initialize it, and then I am retrieving a email and the name property from the form collection. Okay, and then I am building my response. Here you have to be make a DV call, since for the demo we are not introducing any kind of DV layer to save our time. So simply here you have to be make a DV call, do a insert operation, and whatever the response you are getting it from your DV layer, whether it is a success or a failure, you will return a response to the client. Okay, so in our case we are simply make a DV call, we assume we get a success, and then we are passing the response code 0 as a success and then a response message. Fine, and then we will simply return this to the client. Fine. So if we add a breakpoint over here, and where we have to add a breakpoint on the click method first, so that we can watch what we are posting to the server, and then a debugger on the callback function. Fine. So let's run it. So here is our application. Here I want to add a new record, karan@outlook.com, and then name will be the Karan. Okay, so I hit the save button. I first met with the click debugger. Here I am building my form data, and then I make a post call to the server to this action method. I hit continue. Now if here I have declared my student model object and initialize it. Here I am reading the properties. If I see my student model over here, I have successfully able to get the properties karan@outlook.com, and name will be the Karan, right? Here you make a DV call based upon the success or the failure. You have to decide what response you want to return. So we get a success, let's assume, and here I am returning a 0 response code and a response message. Serialize it back to the server. We get a success callback function call, and over there we got a response and response code 0 and the message. So what we are doing is, if we have a response code 0, we will first reset our form, empty the value of the form, and then we are alerting a response that we are getting it from the server. Here you can see you are getting a response from the server, name and the email back, and for your form will be resetted. So here we have complete the two calls, get and the post AJAX call. Now we have to be moved to the third call, that is the update call. Okay, so for updating a call, what we need to do is, firstly we need to be get a call, click on the button, edit button. In our case we will first click on the get student button. We click on it, we get the information. If we carefully inspect that, here you will get two properties that you are looking at, and a third property, that is the HTN student, hidden student ID, that is behind the scenes, that you will use to update and delete a student, right? So first quickly build our click method, remove the debugger from the insert, close this method, and build your third click method that is used to post a AJAX call. Okay, so we build our third click. So here you go. So in this click, what we are doing is, we are similar way, we are building our form data. We are getting a student ID this time because we need it for update, and then we append our name and the email. Only difference is, here the type is put instead of the post. So the question came into our mind is, can we use post instead of the put for updating a student or updating a record? Yes, we can, but for the standard purpose, whenever we are going to be update something, we have to be use the put function. Okay, so in this, what we are doing, we are defining our type for the update, then the URL, all these parameters by default, and data, the form data that we want to post it, and the success function and the error callback function. Fine. So now switch back to the server. Now we are going to be define our update function. So quickly from the controller, let's define our update. So here you can first difference is between the get post, it is a put call that is used to update a student. Similar way, in the function argument, we are expecting a form collection, right? In the form collection, we are first bind our student data, and then we will post that data to the DB layer, and based upon the success or the failure, we are returning the response to the end user, or you can say a browser, or you can say to your AJAX call. Okay, so this is it. Let's try it now. Oops, we haven't introduced a debugger over here. Let's add a debugger in the call. So firstly, what we will do, we will add a get call. Over in the get call, our form will be binded. I have updating a name and the email. Now I hit the update student button. I first met on the click button, then I build my form data, and then defining my type, URL, and hit continue. On the server side, we hit the method update student, and the form collection is the parameter. If you see, you will see a 3 keys or count, basically ID, name and email. Now I build my model that I want to update it. You can see the email and the name will be updated. You will send it to your DB. Based upon the response that you are getting it, you will build your JSON response view model and return it to the AJAX call, and on the success you will get the response back. See, we are resetting a form. On the alert, we will get our data back, updated data. Since the list is not refreshed because we are not binding it, if you want to refresh a list, then you have to be rebind a table again on a insert and the update call, also on the delete call. Okay, so the last call is left, that is the delete call. Let's jump into that. First remove this debugger. We know the step. What we need to do is we need to be first define our click. So let's first define our delete click function over there. We have a delete button. Then we will build our form data, appending the student ID to it. Here the type will be the delete URL and rest will be the same. Fine. Now moving to the controller part, let quickly build our delete method. So here you can see the attribute will be changed with every call. For get we have a get, post for insert, put for update, and for delete http delete, right? So if we go through with the definition, we are retrieving the form collection from the function argument. We bind our student model ID to it. We make a DB call, building our response again and returning back to the AJAX call. Pretty straightforward. Now let test this. Add a debugger here and hit F5. Now first get a student. This time let's get the ID 3 student named as Sunny. Click on delete. Now you will see we will first met with the debugger for the btn delete student. We bind our form data. Type is delete. URL is delete student action method. Oops, we haven't added a debugger over here. So what we are getting from the response, ID only. Hit continue. Let's do it again. This time let's take a fourth student, Amit. Let's delete it, and this time add a debugger on this. So let's continue. This time we are getting ID 4 from the form collection. Make a DB call, build our response, and you are good to go for the success callback. You will get the response, reset your form, and then boom. Fine. So this is the pretty straightforward demo for the 4 methods that we used for the AJAX call: get, post, put, and delete. Don't worry about the source code, you will get via the Git. The link will be described on the video link in the comment description section. If you have any query, post a question. I am happy to help. And if you need me, if you have any kind of query or you want to learn more on any topic, you can send me on my email. I will happy to record a session on that. Thanks. Hope you like the video. Please subscribe the channel. Thank you.